Okay, Ethan's up next. Ethan's going to talk about his company and the protocol they're building.
So I'm going to be talking about what we're working on at Commonwealth Crypto. I'm one of the co-founders of Commonwealth Crypto. And basically what we're building is a way of doing atomic swaps at centralized cryptocurrency exchanges. So as pretty much everyone in this room is aware, trading at exchanges can be risky. The exchanges can be hacked, they can be shut down. And central to this problem is that you've given the exchanges custody over your cryptocurrencies. And so that makes them very attractive targets for attackers. And that also just means if something happens, they have your keys, they have control over your coins. So the promise of non-custodial trading, which is sometimes called atomic swaps, is that users retain custody of their coins even when they're trading. So you have zero counterparty risk. So you could have Alice, and she could trade Bitcoin for Litecoin from her ledger back into her ledger, and at no point can the counterparty, which for Commonwealth Crypto would be a cryptocurrency exchange, at no point could they steal her funds. Either the trade goes through or it doesn't. So in a lot of these discussions, there's a question of who do we trust? You can use a trusted gateway. So for Waves, you send your money, you send your Bitcoin into a Waves gateway, and they give you Waves Bitcoin. Then you can trade Waves Bitcoin for Waves Ethereum. And then when you want to withdraw it, you have to go to the trusted gateway, and it's trusted to let you withdraw that amount of money. As we saw in the previous talk, you can use trusted execution environments such as SGX. There's actually currently a paper out there to build a cryptocurrency exchange where the cryptocurrency exchange is secured with SGX. So that's another alternative. You can also use a trusted third party similar to the model that BitGo uses. Or you can use the blockchain. And so this is the approach that we went with in our solution. Since you're already trusting the blockchain, since these already are cryptocurrencies, this does not add additional trust when you trust that the blockchain is correct. There's not a 51% attack. So what's the threat model? Well, if you look at Shapeshift, and how many people in here are aware of Shapeshift and how it works? All right. So with Shapeshift, it allows you to move coins from one cryptocurrency to another. So you have some Bitcoin, and you want some Litecoin. You pay Shapeshift the Bitcoin, and then as soon as that payment goes through, they pay you Litecoin. And so when you have your Bitcoin, before you've done this trade, your Bitcoin is secure, you're holding those keys. And when you receive your Litecoin, your Bitcoin is safe. But at the moment of trading, when you're sending your Bitcoin to them, they could just not send you Litecoin. The security model that we're going to use is we want security during each trade, which is the general security model of atomic swap. So you have security before the trade. When the trade is happening, you also have security. And then finally, when the trade ends and you get your money, you still have security. So often when atomic swaps are discussed, they're discussed in this notion of peer-to-peer atomic swaps. So you find someone else on the internet and that has Litecoin and you have Bitcoin, and you do an atomic swap with them. But there's several problems with this. And so a lot of this talk is more about the why of why we built things this way than how exactly we built them. So looking at peer-to-peer atomic swaps, we have this liquidity problem, which is that if there's a small number of users, you have to find someone who has the cryptocurrency you want to trade with, and that creates serious liquidity problems because, if you're the only person out there that wants to buy Litecoin, or there's just not a lot of trading going on, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have trouble finding someone. One of the advantages is that it has less regulation. A third disadvantage, or a second disadvantage, is that the person that goes last in the protocol can choose to abort. And so that provides a window for the person that goes last can look at the price of the cryptocurrency and decide, oh, actually, this is not in my interest, and they can abort, or they can try to go through with it. So it enables essentially options trading that doesn't have a premium priced into it. So we're proposing centralized atomic swap trading, where you are trading against a centralized exchange. And this has much better liquidity because you're trading against all the users at the exchange, not just other non-custodial users, but everyone at the exchange. So if there's only one user in this system, they still have plenty of people to trade with, and they can trade with it at the prices at that exchange. But you're going to take on more regulation because now you're a user of a centralized exchange, so you have to be KYC'd. So generally, we're targeting users that are already at a centralized exchange but want to remove some of the counterparty risk. We don't settle each trade on the blockchain, as this is off the chain. We do the trading off chain, and the reason for this is one, obviously it's slow. There are scaling and throughput issues, and then there's also a risk of front running and griefing when you're operating at the speed of blocks, and you have miners that can choose to not include a transaction or to reorder transactions. So what we do instead is escrow-backed trading. This is essentially the simple payment channels described earlier. They are unidirectional, and I'll explain why we went with unidirectional payment channels rather than bidirectional in a later slide. So essentially, Alice just puts 5 Bitcoins into a 2 of 2 multisig, time locked for 3 days, and we're using absolute time locks rather than relative time locks. And the exchange escrows, say, 500 Litecoins in another 2 of 2 multisig. And then the idea is that Alice can perform atomic swaps with the exchange from her user escrow to the exchange escrow, and can perform all of these off blockchain. And then she can close out with the updated balance. These are, as I mentioned before, unidirectional. So after she has traded 5 Bitcoins, she can't change the direction of this payment channel and trade back in the other direction. The reasons for this are both simplicity and issues of malleability. Since we want to be cross-blockchain, we have to be the lowest common denominator of all of these different blockchains, many of which do not have transaction malleability fixes. And in addition, there are issues with security. So you can do bidirectional payment channels without transaction malleability, but watchtowers are very, very difficult without a malleability fix, because you can't just give someone a transaction and have that transaction be postable, since the transaction links will be broken. So we went for trading. Since you're now trading in a centralized exchange, you need a order type which is compatible with that exchange's order book. And atomic swaps fit very well into an order type called an RFQ trade, which is a request for quote trade. And the way that this typically works is that you request that you want to sell some Bitcoin for some Litecoin. The exchange then gives you a quote on what that price is, and you can just choose to reject this quote. But the exchange promises that they will keep this quote open for a certain period of time. So if you do want to take it, you can take that quote within the period of time. But if you don't, you can reject it, and then you place an order for 1 Bitcoin to 100 LTC. So when we actually look at even peer-to-peer atomic swaps, this is sort of implicit, and it's really nice that this order type is an actual order type that is used on markets. So when the user sends over this order, they are now like locked in at this price. And then when the exchange posts the second part of the atomic swap, when the exchange releases the preimage, the exchange is now locked in and the order has completed. If the exchange does not post the preimage, does not do this step, then the order does not complete. But due to the atomic property, either the order happens or it doesn't. So we're initially looking at supporting Bitcoin, Zcash, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Zcash and Bitcoin Cash do not have SegWit and do not currently have malleability fixes. So this is one of the reasons why we are unidirectional, and as I'll explain in the next slide, this actually causes us quite a bit of headaches. Designing off-chain payments for situations without transaction malleability is, in fact, quite difficult. So I'm going to do a little bit of a review on transaction malleability and the problem it causes. For the Bitcoin people in the room, this will be definitely a review. Maybe some of the Ethereum people haven't seen this. So when you have a transaction and it's spending another transaction, the pointer that it uses is the TXID, which is a hash of the transaction signatures. These signatures are randomized, so if you re-sign a transaction, you'll end up with a new transaction ID. Even worse, these signatures are malleable, so someone can come along who isn't one of the signers and maul the signature and change the transaction ID. And so this is really bad because you can break the pointers between transactions. If all of your transactions are confirmed on a blockchain, this isn't that much of a problem because you can just see what the transaction is. But if we're talking off-blockchain transactions, if you say break this pointer here, if you change the TXID of this puzzle transaction, then the solved transaction won't work. So let's say you have you've opened a payment channel, and you have signed this puzzle transaction and signed this solved transaction. And on the other side of this payment channel, you have, on the other side of this atomic swap, you have sent me 100 LTC. If when you go to post the puzzle transaction, I maul it, this solved transaction will no longer be valid. And so I can essentially steal your LTC, and you won't get any money. So this is a pretty big problem for us that we have to address. And we have 3 ways of solving this. The first way is to just use shallow paths of off-blockchain transactions. So the puzzle transaction, if you don't sign it until the on-blockchain transaction has been fully confirmed, you will be, this puzzle transaction is safe because you can't change the TXID of the user escrow once it has been confirmed on blockchain. Additionally, using partially signed off-blockchain transactions. So if this solved transaction is only needs to be signed by one party and then have a preimage, if the puzzle transaction is mauled, this party, if they are the party that will get paid, can re-sign the solve transaction and use the preimage to get themselves paid. So we can go one layer deeper by just having this only be signed by one party, rather than be a 2 of 2. And this also includes the incentives about who signs first. Depending on who signs first, the other party can maul things. Let's see. So we're currently in the stage of integrating with pilot exchanges, so we have this built out, and we're looking to do a trading pair of Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. And we have also built a trading app which functions as the client for this, because similar to the Lightning Network, because this requires users to follow a crypto protocol. We actually need deployed software on the user's end hosts to trade. So we have built a crypto trading app which allows you to trade on several different exchanges and also supports this non-custodial trading.
Sorry about that, I was looking for my microphone. Okay, any questions? Edo does, okay.
Hey, so did you analyze the business model for the centralized exchange? Because you need collateral per user, so there is time value of money for this collateral, so the users presumably need to pay some fee to the centralized exchange. If this fee is high, maybe the users are not happy. If it is too low, then maybe you're not making money as the centralized exchange.
So this is an excellent question, and something that we spent a lot of time thinking about. We have this issue in that the exchange needs to put up open a payment channel, which is collateralized, and that represents a serious opportunity cost for the exchange, and they need to be paid for that opportunity cost. Conceivably, if you didn't have a fee, a user could be really nasty and use up all the exchange's like resources, getting them to open these payment channels, which they are never actually going to trade against. So we have a fee which is paid by the user using the user's open payment channel with the exchange, and the exchange does not open their side of the payment channel until that fee has been paid. So we use our user escrow payment channel to pay that fee, and we pay the entire fee up front, but we want to incentivize users to close the exchange collateralized payment channel early. So we have a refund mechanism whereby the user is rewarded for closing those payment channels early and not just like leaving them open indefinitely.
Thank you very much for the talk. One more clap. Awesome.